Hi, everyone. Happy Wednesday, and welcome to Ask Evelyn, where we answer all of your questions about compost, recycling, garbage, and other trashy topics. This month, we're really focused on compost, and we've got a really good question. We've got a really good episode for you guys today, thanks to a great listener question from you guys. So, this week's episode, breaking it down from cart to finished compost. So, we are super duper happy to have your questions. So, all right. Looks like Pat's just about to join us, so we're going to get this kicked off and talk to you about more about the amazing world of compost. And look at Pat, there he is at the very beginning, starting at the cart.
Yeah, I'm out in the yard today. I thought I'd try it out here.
That's awesome. I love it. I appreciate the field experience.
Yeah, I got my cart here, so we can talk about carts, whatever. We're all set.
Absolutely fantastic. All right, so Pat, you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Sure. My name is Pat Kaufman. I'm the Commercial Recycling and Composting Program Manager for Seattle Public Utilities. Happy to be here. Thanks.
All right. So it's we're focused on compost this month. We got a really great listener question. So do you want to get us kicked off with that?
Yeah. So the question coming up right here. Question is from Hong. Hi, Evelyn. Last week you posted on food stickers and how they shouldn't go in the compost. I'm curious why they are a problem. I always thought they would get sorted out. Thanks, Hong.
Yeah.
You want to give the quick answer on that?
Absolutely. Here's your quick answer, Hong. It's a great one. It's plastic should just never go into the compost. It doesn't break down. It's made out of petroleum products. And so it's really hard. And it's also very hard to sort out, particularly fruit stickers, which are super tiny. And so as it goes through the composting process, what happens is it breaks down into smaller and smaller and smaller tiny pieces of plastic. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about microplastics, and those end up in our environment. They end up in the soil, they end up in the water, potentially in us if they get absorbed into plants or get consumed when they end up back into our waterways. So that's the short answer. Plastic doesn't break down. It's really hard to sort it out. But this got us thinking, right, Pat? We were thinking, like, it's true. We do get this question, like, why is it a big deal, right? They're small. Like, is it really a problem? And so we were talking about probably taking folks through kind of the whole process so you guys can understand the journey and why they are kind of a bigger problem for such a small thing.
Yeah, it is any plastic is a problem for the compost system. The compost system is an organic, a natural, real food and plant-based process. So what we want to do is, remove all those items from our collection of compostables before we put it in the green cart. And I thought Kate's suggestion last week was great. As soon as she gets home from the market, she peels all of those stickers off of the apples and fruit and whatnot. Yeah, those kinds of things. Take those rubber bands off. Release that scrunched up romaine lettuce and give it a little chance to relax. Yeah. But the idea of, talking about the system, we're going to take a little time here today and talk about, when you all take your compostables from your home and you put them in your green cart, where do they go? What happens to them? And what has to be managed related to that? Yeah. So, first big step is everybody, in their kitchen, we're just showing, taking the stickers off of your products, your food products, making sure you get all your food waste into the collection container, whatever your container might be. And we've talked many times on the show about different collection container strategies. Whatever little bucket or container you use in your kitchen to collect your food waste, that's kind of step one in the composting system. And then into your cart, keeping your cart clean.
Right there.
And that's right. And then the truck comes along every week, or every week if you put it out, and collects your food and yard waste. And of course, in the cart, the only three things that go in the cart are yard waste, food waste, and approved compostable packaging. So just three things. Not all the other, compostable toothbrushes or writing pens or all these other marketed products that may be made from plant-based material, but they're not accepted in our program because we only focus on yard waste, and food packaging that's approved, tested and approved. So yeah, once it gets in the cart, it goes to the truck. And we have a couple of good haulers on that side, right?
Absolutely. So Recology and Waste Management will pick up the stuff at your house. They'll tip it into the cart, into their trucks. The packers will go to one of our two transfer stations, either the North Transfer Station over there in Wallingford or the South Transfer Station down in South Park. And they'll tip the material onto the floor. So literally like the back tips up, which is why it's called the tipping floor. all that material will come out. And then what happens is all of those folks who work at the stations will work super hard, and they load all of that stuff into these big trailers. They're about 40
Yeah.
foot long. They're the ones that you see, the intermodal containers. These are actually, they use special containers that have kind of a different kind of top on them for yard waste. They're not your standard shipping containers. And then they will go to one of our 2 processors. So we take our organic material in Seattle to either Cedar Grove, their Everett facility, or to Lens Enterprises, which is up in Stanwood. Right. So from there, you know, what happens with them, Pat?
Well, those are both facilities that, you know, when you look at your packaging, sometimes you see the little disclaimer or wording that says compostable in commercial or industrial compost facilities. That's what these facilities are. Right. These are big, large operations, hundreds of tons of material coming in every week. It's a big operation. They manage a lot of material, and they do it not just for Seattle, but for many of the surrounding communities and cities and areas of King County and such around the area, and Snohomish County and Pierce County and such. So they're big, they're massive. And so material comes in, as Becca mentioned, usually shows up in a larger semi-truck size load. So you can get as many truck loads into one big load. So it goes up the highway, goes to their facility. They dump it into their tipping floor, which is another area, tipping building. And that's where they do a quick visual sort. Like the staff on site were the first step of the quality control there. And as the driver tips the load and pulls away, the staff on site look for any large materials. Like, unfortunately, someone might put a lawn chair in their green cart, and it might make it through the whole process.
I know.
You know, there was when we first launched the yard waste program, people were putting anything that they didn't want from their yard in their yard waste cart. And so you still get a little bit of that misunderstanding sometimes.
You do.
You'll see garden hoses or lawn chairs or things like that.
or anything else. Yeah, totally.
So
there's a
first
whole
step
bunch of
is
crazy stuff.
the guy on the tipping building. His job is to pull the big stuff off, because the next step is a loader, a big construction tractor, loads up big scoop loads of it and tips it into a machine, which is basically one of those big tub grinder type grinders. And it'll churn the stuff up and chop it up and chip it, not into the finished grade. Don't think that they're making compost in one scoop. This is just step one to get it to a consistent size of material. And we're talking chunky,
pretty big
shoe size stuff, if you will. I mean, there's some bigger chunks that come out of that chipper. And then that goes into long rows of material. They call them heaps, big piles of processed organic waste. And then over time, as we know, as we've done the tour, Becca and I have done the tours at these facilities before, and through monitoring of moisture and temperature, to make sure that they have just the right
mix.
The right mix, to give the bacteria all the happy kind of space they need to break down all the organic material. So that's, and they also use, the other kind of fun thing about is after they finish compost, there's always a few things that just don't break down very quickly. And we're talking about
chunks.
like the heartwood and a root of a tree or something, like really hard woods. Those things actually on the outside of that chunk of wood will have the living bacteria from the finished compost. And so they call those overs. They're over the size of finished grade compost. So all the overs get moved back to the front end of the process, and they get loaded into that first pile so that those bugs can just start populating and doing their job, So, yeah.
It's pretty cool. So the whole process, it takes anywhere from 1 to 4 months till you get a finished product. Which actually is kind of amazing. If you can think about all the stuff that you're putting into your kitchen compost buckets, mixing that with some woody material, which happens, right after they tip it and do that visual sort at the compost processor. Along the way, there's some opportunities to get out like the forks and the big spoons and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
They can pick out the plastic, but that is not what the compost system is set up for. It is set up for breaking things down. It is all about the decomposition here. So we really want to make sure that we keep stuff out. But it's interesting that it can go from your kitchen container to a finished compost product in like less than a season, which is pretty amazing. And in order to maximize that efficiency, we need to make sure that we're only putting the stuff that is approved and accepted to be broken down during that process in there. So circling back to fruit stickers, right? You have not heard about any like magical sorting or optical removal of things during this process, because that does not happen. And so what will happen is that little fruit sticker will move through the process, like I said in the quick answer, and it will end up in the finished product. You know, it may have been shredded down, and then it just ends up as microplastic in the environment. So we really want to focus on not putting plastic into the compost.
Yeah. I think that a lot of people have a misconception of a compost facility. They think of it as a recycle facility, and it's not the same at all.
No.
Compost facilities born out of, you know, land clearing, manures, agricultural waste, things that were large in volume and mass and processed to, you know, create soil. Then we started to put our yard waste and food waste into that kind of existing operational space. Whereas recycle centers, they were created to be sorting stations. A compost facility is not a sorting station. It is not a place. So the sort has to happen on the consumer side. It has to be our customers doing the good work of making sure plastic doesn't get in the green cart in the first place, because the facilities are not equipped, and it's just not that type of an operation.
Not at all. It's interesting. I bought, you know, I actually bought a soil mix that's got soil and finished compost in it. And you can see, you know, there's some sticks and things like that. So not everything gets broken out, which is good. You want that for soil structure. But, you know, this is not where you want to see your fruit sticker come back to you, or any pieces of plastic at all. So really this, you know, this nice just soil and organic matter mix is because it has a clean feedstock coming in. So.
Yeah. As you said at the outset of the show today, it will break down the plastic over time and conditions and just disintegrate. It never goes away. It's still there. So even if you can't see it, you know, unfortunately, if you put it in the front end, it's going to stay in there on the back end.
It will.
So you need
Absolutely. I mean, really, nobody wants anything that looks like that. Right? Like coming back to their house when they're ordering compost. So yeah, so Hong, thank you for the great question. It's really, really good to kind of think about it, right? And so fruit stickers are one of those things that we encounter a lot, and just kind of puts it at top of mind like plastic. Not for the compost, not at all.
Not at all.
So Pat, do you want to review the 3 things that should go in real quick?
Sure thing. Hey, the 3 things accepted in your green cart are yard waste, food waste, and approved compostable packaging. So look for that word compostable before you put it in the cart.
Absolutely.
I want to show you my throwback sticker here, if I can get it in the shot.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. I've got the most unique sticker on the block, you know.
Well, I mean, you know.
Yeah. If you got it, you know, why not?
All right, folks. Well, thank you guys so much, and definitely keep writing into us. We're going to have links to 2 really cool videos for the show. One is a tour of the Cedar Grove Everett facility, so you can really see how that process, that composting process happens. We have a link to another video about the general solid waste system for Seattle Public Utilities, and I take a trip to Lens Enterprises. So you'll get to see how that process is different, which is really cool. There's so many ways to do it to really harness the power of this kind of natural decomposition process. It's pretty neat to see how they do it. And they do a fantastic job of taking all that material and breaking it down on a huge, huge scale. So next week, we're definitely going to be talking more compost for sure, but keep your questions and your comments coming. We love hearing from you. So remember, hit us on all our social channels, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or you can drop us an email at askevelyn@seattle.gov. All right, folks, that's it for this week's show. And with that, I'm Becca Fong. And remember, life's simpler with less stuff.
And I'm Pat Kaufman. Remember to recycle right. We'll see you next time.
All right. See you guys.